Hopefully this will be a short question. Between the three of you, it looks like you employ a minimum of probably 300 to 500 employees through your various businesses. You responded about the local regulations, but my question involves the Obamacare. How's that affected you, or how do you expect that to affect your bottom line?
We are closer to 500 employees. And I'm going to say, so far we don't know, because the healthcare program that we offered fulfilled the minimum requirements. Okay, so there's been little change so far. It's hard to tell how much price increase came anticipatorily from the Affordable Care Act, and how much might be just kind of our actuarial bad luck in a year or two. So we've had increases, but I can't, blame it all on, new regulations. So I think, our companies similarly are all sort of waiting to see what happens, because, the macro is, will there be enough young people who really don't need to buy insurance on the whole, but should have insurance? Will they buy in the numbers that's needed to make this whole plan work? That's the multi-million-dollar question. Because if they don't, then individual plans as well as our company plan will probably go up. If they buy, then hopefully it'll stay, closer to, the trajectory that it's been over the last 5-10 years.
I think there's two, this is always a touchy subject, but this is certainly not meant to be political when you're talking about business. This is a business forum. So I think I want to distinguish a point right off the bat is there's a difference from the argument of trying to help people get, particularly people who can't afford it, affordable health care in some capacity to help them. I don't think, myself, my brother, we would never want to see somebody would not be able to afford care that was in dire health, their health was in dire straits, so to speak. Having said that, you have to deal with the regulation as a business, and you've got to look at it honestly. Our company, at peak usually is around approximately 90 people, and one of the challenges is, so we're trying to understand what things like full-time equivalent mean, and determining whether we are going to be subject to the employer mandate fines, and whether that is, that applies to us and how much of the penalty would be. Our situation, I spoke last year a little bit about, is unique in the sense that it's challenging where Mesquite is located, because we've got some folks that, Arizona, I think you can tee off on the 14th tee and turn around and turn backwards, probably hitting it in Arizona. And you can drive and you're in Utah not too far away. So we have a few folks that are up in St. George. And so just because it's a federal law, a lot of just the challenges trying to understand Arizona, Utah requirements, and Nevada, just in that alone on the business front. And in talking, and our team, we've got two ladies who just do, they do a fabulous job. In fact, I hope I'm not embarrassing Kathy Bussman and Shauna Cuddies, who are in HR, but I'm just going to mention them. We've had an outside CPA firm. These gals have done the best breakdown of Obamacare, at least or the Affordable Care Act, as I have seen. The big issue is just the change in constant moving the line. As a business, you just want to plan and know what the rules are in order to do it. Unfortunately, this law constantly does change when you're trying to understand how to navigate it. From a business perspective, not a personal perspective, I want to make this clear, of helping people out, there's two distinguished ways. I'm not sure thus far it's very clear on how we best navigate the law. At times, from our perspective in planning, it's frustrating at this point in time. That doesn't mean that helping people, we're all for helping people in the best way. We just want to know how we do that. And once we know that, then we can react from a financial perspective. One of the things I mentioned last year that is a concern that I wish that was somehow struck if you could do it, is the operating expense line item, just if you're, which a lot of people don't talk about, is that it would add to a cost to a small business, meaning Wolf Creek, believe it or not, to a lot of folks is categorized as a small business, maybe not in this community. But anytime you add potentially 50,000 or 75,000 or 25, when we go talk to our lender, you know, that counts in terms of, they usually have requirements that you have to show a certain profit margin. And that is one of the concerns I know we had, was just how that would impact it. When we have a capital expense, if you know anything about accounting, you don't really have to count that, even though it's real money out of your pocket when you buy a new tractor, and, or you go, you know, buy, you know, white sand bunkers and stuff, you can, you know, that doesn't count. But it's those kinds of things that, you know, we have to pay attention to that cause us concern. Not as much, you know, we pay attention to those. It doesn't mean that we don't care for people and want to have them have the best health care at the most affordable price. But when we're looking at business, we're saying, how do we, when we're having our strategic meetings every year, what's this impact? Who does that potentially affect? How is our lender going to view this? If we had this extra cash, could we go, you know, support, you know, this capital improvement, this charity, this something? I mean, there is, in our world, a real life sense. If that changes and it's possible, that would be great. We just don't know what we're ending up with, and I'm hoping that will be clear. I hope that, you know, our government will give us that clarity so we can react accordingly. I hope that answers your question.
Nancy, you have another one?
Hi. A lot of people here that know me know that I spend a lot of time on my feet. It's like lick this thing to talk into it. Okay. Kind of embarrassing. Spend a lot of time on my feet, either running or hiking or whatever, and do a lot of that out on the dirt, primarily in places like Gold Butte and that. And I'm wondering how you guys use the non-gaming and non-golfing attractions, like places like Gold Butte, in bringing visitors and guests out and rounding out their overall experience when they're here.
How many of you have been to Gold Butte? Okay, that's great. Because last year, as part of the Mesquite Off-Road Weekend, we tried to open that area to sort of ecotourism. And it was very, very difficult. Okay, very, very difficult. I think, you know, we had to post a bond for, if you anticipate...
It was 20,000.
20,000? Oh my God, I did that?
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
No,
It was a great event, though.
what happened was we wanted to help some local guides take tourists through Gold Butte, and we couldn't get a permit. And it was $20,000, and we were trying to the BLM. We weren't sure we were going to get it back. We weren't sure how many people were going to come and take those tours. So it created a tremendous amount of risk for the guides, for us, and we ended up doing it because we just wanted to see if the government would eventually help us. And so after we agreed to post that bond, then we actually had to get on the telephone and talk to both senators, right, to open that up. And I mentioned that because I do believe that Gold Butte and our natural resources can be a tremendous draw. It's just right now, it's tough to know how to get it done. You know, Senator Reid's office calls because they say, we really want a designation so that you can do all these things and you can actually advertise that you're a national monument. But then other, you know, local people say, you know, don't trust that because it could be a trap. You know, you're going to get the designation, and then they're going to promise you it's going to be great for tourism, and then they'll shut it down. So, you know, honestly, it's a, you know, smarter minds than ours have to get involved because you need both Democratic support and Republican support to actually get it on. But you also need to create a methodology that we can use it in a way that is good for tourism, but is respectful, to the monument and petroglyphs and wild animals and cactus. So I hope, since there were so many of you who raised your hand, that you'll take the lead on that, because I do think it's important. It's just really difficult, because I can attest to, it's hard to advertise something and not be sure that you can deliver on it.
It went great. It actually went great. We had a great turnout, but it was so it was horrible, because we seriously,
It ended up being wonderful. All the people that did the tours had such a great time. They said they wanted to do it again. They wanted to come back. In fact, I've had several calls for people who wanted to do it again, but it was just, it was not cost effective, I don't think, for the whole thing. It was really kind of a ridiculous thing that we had to go through. So I think it's something we definitely need to change here. And I think we as a community can all band together. That's maybe one of those things that we can work towards as a community. I'll do an project.
Sorry?
You got time for one last question, Nancy?
Yeah, is there an... Well, we got...
There's been a lot of talk lately, for years, about bringing natural gas into Mesquite. And of course, I know a lot of us as homeowners say, oh yeah, gosh, I'd really like to have it. But the truth is, if you got a home here, you're not going to get it, because it isn't cost effective to run it into existing subdivisions. I don't know as you do have a whole lot of different, if it would be a big asset to you or not, but to the builder, to Sun City, is that something that would be a big plus for you? Or, I mean, you're doing okay with electric, but what's your feelings on it? Would it be a big plus for you guys?
It absolutely would be a big plus to us, and we looked at this before we came to Mesquite. Obviously, we look at all the utilities before we come up here, and we've sat down with Southwest Gas. There was the city did a fantastic job creating a committee to entertain the possibility of bringing gas. Got all of the got a bunch of the developers and some of the other business owners in the city to sit down, talk about the possibility of bringing it, collectively going out and bringing gas to the city, and it's just not financially feasible at this point. There's a big gas line about 9 miles north of the city. In order to tap that line, it would be an EIS, an environmental impact study, and you'd have to create easements. The cost of the construction alone is astronomical, and with today's paces and the players involved right now, it's just not feasible. We would love to, and feel like it would be a tremendous selling point, but it's just not feasible.
Okay.